Hey everyone, it's Canadian Turtle, and I'm here to share some of my thoughts on the Amazing Spider-Man comics. From what I believe, these are the first Spider-Man comics ever made. I've heard that Spider-Man's first appearance was in a Fantastic Four comic chapter as like a side character or something, and everyone seemed to love him, and everyone thought he was a cool addition to the Marvel Universe. And a lot of fans sent in letters to Marvel Comics about how much they really liked Spider-Man, and somewhere in the book it even said that, that's the reason why they gave Spider-Man his own series. It's because there was such a big demand for him. Ever since the Fantastic Four ended with its last chapter, Marvel needed a new series, so they chose Spider-Man because all the readers liked him. And before I say anything more about the comics, I'm just going to go out and say that I'm very, very new to American comics. I mean, I just recently got into them. For most of my life, I've been reading Japanese manga. So if I make any mistakes, don't judge me. I wanted to read these when I was a kid, but in my local library didn't have any, and even when they did have a couple, they'd be all scrunched up and crumbled, and pages missing and teared apart. It wasn't readable. So anyways, this is the Marvel Masterworks for the original The Amazing Spider-Man comics, and these are just the first 10 or so chapters reprinted and stapled into one big book, hardcover. And I have to say that I love it. It's really interesting to read, and especially because I was a huge fan of Spider-Man as a kid. I loved the TV shows. I used to watch them all the time. I loved the movie by Sam Raimi. You watched that like 1,000 times, and I played the game on the PlayStation a lot too. It was really interesting to read and see the roots of the Spider-Man franchise and how it began. I love how the story unfolds. It's got that old school comic book feel to it, and same thing with the artwork. I love the old school artwork by Steve Ditko. I think it fits the story's atmosphere very well, and the storytelling by the legendary comic book writer Stan Lee is really good too. You know the story. Peter Parker gets bitten by a radioactive spider and gains super spider abilities, and he learns to use his powers for the purpose of helping others to fight crime. At first, when he gets his powers, he creates his costume and equipment, like artificial spiderweb or web cartridges or whatever you want to call them. At first, he uses his powers and stuff to go to live shows and get famous and earn cash and show off and stuff without revealing that he's Peter Parker, obviously. And through the course of the story, he finds out that his ignorance for using his powers for the wrong use led him to his beloved uncle's death, a relative which he deeply cared about, and that's when he learns, the famous quote, "With great power comes great responsibility," and that's when he decides to use his power for good use only. And in the book, he fights villains like the Vulture, Sandman, Doctor Octopus, and even Doctor Doom, which I think that's the main villain for Fantastic Four, I think. Yeah, Doctor Doom. Oh, and there were chapters where he even meets the Fantastic Four in person. In one of those early chapters in this book, he even fights against the whole Fantastic Four team, which was pretty cool. So, yeah, the action scenes in this were pretty awesome, and Spider-Man overall is a unique superhero, especially at the time these comics came out. There was a note that the author Stan Lee put about how Spider-Man was almost never going to have his own series because back in the day, I guess, superheroes were meant to be built and brave and loved by the public and have glorious lives, but Spider-Man was different. He was a nerd at school and everyone looked down at him, and he had an aunt and uncle that he lives with that nurtures him with love, like he was some kind of mama's boy or something. And even when he became Spider-Man, he was still disliked by some of the public. And that's like the opposite of superhero stereotype, So it was a tough decision for Marvel to start publishing a Spider-Man comic, but because it felt risky, and because he breaks all the boundaries for what a superhero was supposed to be like, But it was a good thing that they published it because it ended up being a successful hit. I'm glad that Marvel decided to re-release these onto the market because, as you know, the original copies of Spider-Man are extremely hard to find. I think I read somewhere on Google that the original copies is worth like $2,500 or something, and I was like, whoa, how the hell am I ever going to be able to read these comics? I tried looking to download the chapters online, but I had absolutely no luck finding them, and finally I was searching through my library these days and I came across this book. I'm just really glad that Marvel re-released these for people like me. who weren't able to read them back in the day, and for people who can't afford to waste $2,500 on each issue of the original copies of Spider-Man that were released. And yeah, I'm having a lot of fun reading this. I don't know, maybe it's because I've always wanted to read these, but never got the chance. And now that I finally did get the chance to read them, I'm savoring every moment that I'm reading it. Or maybe it's the art, or maybe it's the artwork and storytelling. Like I said, I love the old school storytelling and artwork, especially the artwork. The cover designs and pages look so stylish and colorful. So yeah, I'd highly recommend this to any Spider-Man fan. If you've always wanted to read the original comics, or if you just want to see what comics were like back in the day, I'd say yeah, get this. I found this at my library, so I didn't have to pay anything for it. But this goes around for about $50 or so. And yeah, I know it's expensive, but what can you do? So yeah, I hope you guys liked the video. Please subscribe for more, and tell me if you guys read this book back in the day, or you were like me and you were searching for the comics a lot and couldn't find anything. What were your thoughts about the book? Did you like it? Do you think this Masterworks reprint is overpriced? Leave a comment below, and thanks for watching.